Welcome everyone to another webinar hosted here at Frisbi. I'm your host Ryan Kramer, and I am the head of marketing and growth here at Frisbi. Thank you for joining us today on what is promising to be an exciting, action-packed, information-filled event that we're going to be talking about Europe today and how brands are expanding really into Amazon's marketplaces. We're going to help demystify all the different programs, specifically the Pan EU program. What is it? How can I be a part of it? The EFN, or the European Fulfilled Network, or FBA, how I can sell and start selling directly in all the different marketplaces that Amazon is in Europe. So if you're new to here, or if you're new to our webinar series, this is live. We have it recording, so we appreciate you tuning in live here post Turkey 5. That's right. Everyone is coming off of that high of those big 5 to 11. That's right. 11 days that Amazon's touting that are really the core crux of every Amazon, or quite frankly, every e-commerce seller's selling year, if you will. So hopefully everyone here has had a successful Turkey 5. I call it Turkey 5 because it starts on Thanksgiving, wraps around the weekend into Cyber Monday, ending yesterday here locally. So if you are, if I'm curious, just want to know your thoughts. This is a live interactive webinar. So if you would happen to want to put your information in, we can answer your questions here at the very end, but we'll go ahead and get everything started. If you want to, go ahead and tell me how things went. I would like to hear from you, our sellers who are actively selling in the US, maybe in Europe already. Maybe you're thinking about Europe. I'd like to know how your Turkey 5 went. If you saw sales go up, down, you're looking to improve on those efforts, as we all are. We're want to know exactly how it went. So just to go ahead and to put that in there as well in the chat column. So go ahead and kicking off our presentation today. For everyone who is new to Frisbi, I'll go ahead and kick through to the next slide. We've already saw the intro. So this is going to be really focused around a couple different things. Let me go ahead and bring back myself real quick and making sure that you can see my screen. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way here. This is going to be the presentation that we're focusing on today. Selling in Europe, Pan EU versus EFN versus FBA, unlocking new opportunities in the European market. Again, let me know if you're already selling in Europe, what your results are, what markets you're targeting, which ones you're thinking about for 2024. That way we can answer those here at the end of the webinar. So going on to what we're going to be talking about today, really wherever you are in the world, selling in Europe has been something that most sellers come to us on a daily basis, and they're kind of demystified by it, right? So it's kind of to set the scene. I want to take you through this guide that will help answer your questions on which program is going to be a good fit for you as a seller, and really which ones you maybe avoid, and how to even get started and grow your brand going into the European market. So today we're going to explore those unique opportunities and challenges, and we're going to come with different, obviously, fulfillment options available through Amazon in Europe at the end. So that's how your product gets to the consumer in those markets. We'll cover those at the end. So hanging with me here, the objectives of today's webinar, as mentioned, we're going to go through each of those programs systematically, the pros and the cons of each, and then we'll kind of we'll make sure we answer the questions that we have remaining going from there. All right, so our aim today is to delve into the intricacies of Amazon's Pan-European FBA, the European Fulfillment Network, and fulfillment by Amazon. To not distract people, I understand there's quite a bit of options that you can see here of all the ways an entrepreneur or a brand or a company can actually sell their physical, tangible products in the European market. There's vendor fulfillment, there's seller fulfillment options, there's considerations for merchant fulfilled network, and then obviously FBA seller programs in Europe. We're going to focus on those three core components that I talked about in the beginning: the Pan EU, the EFN, and the FBA programs, to not confuse the acronyms. But by the end of the session, you're going to have a clear understanding of these platforms and be equipped to make informed decisions about your brand, because that's my goal, is to make sure that you have all the information you need in order to build and grow your business. Sound good, everyone? Perfect. Awesome. Thumbs up from everyone if we're good to go. I'll go ahead and go from there. But there is quite a bit of options, and my job is to to simply make it easy for you to understand the 3 most popular ones for most Amazon sellers here. So it's a vibrant market. We want to make sure that's clear for sellers who are looking to expand into this market. So unlocking the power of the European market. What's Europe have to offer for my brand if I'm based in the United States? What's it have to offer for sellers on Amazon as Amazon sellers here in 2023 going into 2024? Is Europe worthwhile? Those are all great questions, and you're not alone when asking them. So let's talk about why Europe is such a diverse and unique market to think about expansion. Here at Frisbi, that's what we're all about, and why Europe is such an intriguing and alluring marketplace ecosystem. I'll say it's an ecosystem because there's quite a bit of different countries that you can sell in, why it's so alluring to be in. The reach of customers is number one. New customers, you can actually have access to additional customers across 28 different countries. That's all across Europe where your product could be sold. Big case number one. Number two, if each of those markets represents unique opportunities for growth for expansion, that means revenue diversification. So if something happens where you're stocked out in the United States for a top selling product, or you just want to see additional boost to your margins and growth with those areas, you really want to have a diverse portfolio of selling channels that you can manage within your ecosystem. So as people grow, you don't want to have to rely simply on one sales channel, right? Because if something happens, you get suspended for whatever reason. Things happen all the time as an Amazon seller. You probably know this firsthand, and hopefully no one's had to deal with this issues recently. But having all these different channels starts to build sales and starts to stack on itself, right? So if you get 5% growth here in Europe or in UK, 10% growth in Germany, 6% growth in Italy, so on and so forth. Those numbers really start to stack up and look like a really solid growth market for you as a seller. And that's why it's a little bit easier because of the competition is not fully there. There's a lot more people who are adapting and adopting the Amazon ecosystem in Europe. So more and more people are searching for products like yours in that marketplace. So it's a lot easier to, with how the EU works, to send products cross border, or to search in Germany if I'm in France, or to search in Italy if I'm in Spain. All those ecosystems work together, and Amazon makes it a lot easier for you to get started and to see where your product is going to be best suited there. So again, the support of Amazon there, utilizing the logistics and tools that they have to offer, really simplifies the Amazon expansion of selling. Again, we're talking about the Amazon ecosystem. There are, of course, many different marketplaces, over 200 in the world, that you can sell your tangible products on. Some are focused on categories, some are focused on high-end goods, others are focused on cheaper objects that are cheaper, like less expensive objects. You need to find your right fit, but Amazon makes it a lot easier to get up and selling quickly as possible. So that is why the European allure, if you will, is so strong. So the navigating cultural and regulatory landscape. So what do I mean by this? So these are things to consider before you enter the European marketplace. So to kick things off, expanding into Europe isn't just about simply logistics and sales and getting those numbers squared away. It's actually about understanding and adapting to a diverse culture where your products may not be you might not fit, actually. So each country in Europe has its own set of rules, its own set of regulations, and consumer behavior. So recognize these nuances up front and understanding how different customers interact and why they buy products instead of just the product itself. What's their why, and why your product would be a good fit for that specific country. It's very important to understand and do that research ahead of time. And again, that's just product validation and localization, and recognizing the local nuances like VAT considerations or value added tax. That's that's a phrase I'm going to use in here as well. The considerations from language to marketplace preferences, they're all a nuanced approach tailored to each market. And my job is to make sure that you have that foundation to know where your products are going to be successful. So before you start, knowing all these different components before diving into Europe. So one major component about going to Europe and really consider it for 24 is to capitalize on the first mover advantage. What's the first mover advantage, Ryan? Well, the first mover advantage is when there's an opportunity, you're the first one who's going to be in your product or category, or if you're in a competitive area on Amazon or in e-commerce, making sure that you're one of the first people to adapt and be available for that market. That's what that means. So less competition, that means less competition from other sellers or other brands in certain categories. You can seize market opportunities. That's what that means. So in comparison to United States, where it might be saturated in your category, you're probably thinking, I'm spending a lot in PPC. I'm constantly fighting the top 10, trying to make sure that my product is ranking well. It's very difficult in a market that is, quote, saturated in the United States, where the European Amazon ecosystem and marketplaces, there's fewer competitors in specific categories. So that scenario presents a golden opportunity for a lot of people who are looking to grow, looking to build their business. So that's where the first mover advantage really is important to take place. And consider it's building a loyal customer base before that competition intensifies. And I will promise you, the competition will intensify because the more people who are listening to us at Frisbi or any other international growth expert or company, it's Amazon's goal to get as many products in as many hands as possible worldwide. It's your job to make sure that you are being proactive with that measure, but also being strategic about that measure. And that's why we're going to be talking about the strategic growth of your brand internationally, because it will happen. Your competition will try to be all of those places as well. All right, so that's setting the table. Let's kind of dive into the entrees, if you will. We're coming off of Thanksgiving. We're coming off of these holidays. Let's we've set the table. Now let's talk about Amazon's European fulfillment options. How do I get my products in the hands of consumers now that I've dived into and have committed to, yes, my brand needs to be there in Europe? So the first one I want to talk about is the Pan-European program. The Pan-European or Pan-EU, as you will see it as well, the FBA program there. So what that is it's an efficient program that allows you to store your inventory in one country while Amazon takes care of distributing it across various European fulfillment centers. So again, one location, Amazon distributes your inventory across many different countries as they see fit. So if your product is going to do well more in Germany, they're going to put 70% of your inventory in Germany, and they'll sprinkle it across other marketplaces that you have available through the Pan EU program. So they will do it distribution wise themselves, as based upon um, the the demand of your product. That's the phrase I'm looking for. So the system is designed for faster, more cost effective delivery to customers in different European countries. That's what this program was built around. The definition, as Amazon will give you, for what the Pan EU program is, it's a program by Amazon, again, funded and built by Amazon, to allow sellers to store inventory in multiple European fulfillment centers, and then they will distribute the inventory. You don't have to, they just tell you where to send it to, and then they will fulfill it in different countries based upon their metrics and their logic, if you will. So it's almost a set it and forget it. They just tell you where to send it to, and they will distribute the inventory across markets as demand tells it. So the primary purpose of the Pan-EU program, again, it's an efficient, cost-effective delivery method to customers all across Europe. You're basically one system that allow you to get into all those markets quickly and effectively. Sounds good, right? Key features of this program are effortless inventory management. So if you're a logistics manager and you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, that sounds like a great thing, I can just send it to one country or just a few locations and the Amazon will handle the rest. Maybe it's a perfect fit for you. So it's inventory that's shipped to warehouses across Europe, meeting customer demand even from outside Europe. So again, as the Pan EU program, it distributes um, based upon the seller in their own algorithm. You just have to fulfill to those networks, and Amazon will sort out the rest. There's also lower FBA fees for the Pan EU program. Pluses for everyone, right? If I can lower my fees, that's great, right? There's no additional cost with the Pay program for shipping items to fulfillment centers across Europe. Only local fulfillment expenses are incurred. So again, there's a give and a take with all these different programs. Know that these are key features of this specific program. You have access to European customers. Obviously, full Prime eligibility can be delivered in 2 days or less, maybe same day, depending on where your inventory is located. Clearly, but enhancing visibility and sales potential across Europe all at once, which is a plus for a lot of you who are thinking about growing into Europe. Quite frankly, it's fast and reliable deliveries, obviously through the Amazon Prime ecosystem. The proximity to European customers is very close with their warehousing, and then obviously local customer service is a plus. So with the Pan-EU program, you include local customer service in various European languages, support from France, obviously to speak French. There's support from Italy, which is Italian in that language. So as you start to build your global brand, you must also speak to your localized customer, and that might not be your native tongue, which is completely fine. But Amazon's there to support if there's any sort of issue with the product, or if there's returns or questions about it. It helps you with it provides support for those localized languages as well. Sound great? Key features of Pan-EU program. So let's dive into a little bit more now we've established that. What are the pros and cons? As we touted, and as Amazon will tout, the model actually offers several advantages, including expanded market research and market reach for Prime eligible users for your products. However, it also comes with a set of challenges. There's the old adage of understanding tax. With more sales comes more headaches, or more paying more people with the taxes. That's what a lot of sellers think, that there's an issue, but that is a con for sellers who are entering this market, is navigating the complexities that is value added tax, or VAT, and managing inventory clearly across multiple countries. It can be demanding. But we'll delve deeper into those aspects to help you understand and leverage that program effectively. So again, the market reach, the Prime eligibility, simplified logistics. However, the inventory demand that comes, it's important to know that with every pro, there might be a con that you have to find a solution for. So for our suggestion at Frisbi, and my suggestion for people who are looking to expand to Europe, my suggestion would consider Pan-EU program if you are a larger scale operations brand. For someone whose sole focus is operations, or if you're a one or two person operation, I'm going to suggest that look at a different program than the Pan-EU ecosystem. This is for sellers who are a little bit larger, higher order volumes, and consider FBA direct or Pan-EU program. There's gonna be more benefits that you get, more juice worth the squeeze. More juice comes from the squeeze if you're a bigger operations, a bigger team, that someone's full focus that can handle operations can focus on this. So that would be if you're a brand who's multiple years in existence, you have multiple teammates, you have people whose sole focus is in the logistics ecosystem. This would be a program that would be a better fit for you, instead of a one or two person, a smaller entrepreneur setup, if you will. Good for everyone? Perfect. So now the next program I want to kind of introduce to everyone is the European Fulfillment Network, or under that EFN, or we'll say EFN for simplistic reasons. You can store with the European Fulfillment Network, you can actually store your inventory in one country, and Amazon fulfills orders across Europe from that singleized location. So Pan-EU, multiple different locations, right? Fulfilling, it's going to tell you where the proximities are, where to sell it to in that capacity. EFN is only one source, so it's only one place that you're selling inventory or sending inventory, and it's going to be sent across Europe from that single location. This model is a simplified VAT obligations as well, and it reduces logistic complexities, which is why I suggest bigger team. Worry about a little bit more. Think about Pan-EU program. If you're on the smaller side in one or two person, or even up to 5 people operation, this is going to be the program where you can kind of test out the Amazon ecosystem in Europe. So the European Fulfillment Network between UK and EU. Again, we talk about Europe. The UK is a part of this, but I want to break down the different. This is going to be how you can help get into UK, but also sell to all of Europe as well. So 2 different entities, as we all know, Brexit back in 2021, and when it officially became around that time, when it officially became, established, understanding that those 2 entities aren't all in the same tax obligations and fulfillment ecosystems, but this program allows you to talk and go across borders pretty easily. So the focus of this European fulfillment network between the UK and the EU allows sellers with Amazon to European store accounts to store products in the UK or EU and fulfill those across those regions. It's Prime eligibility, so orders are shipped with a Prime badge without additional European fulfillment network fees. Obviously, very nice. The requirements for this program, I'm going to break this down a little bit more for the smaller sellers out there. So you need both access to UK and EU Seller Central accounts. So you need to have separate ones that have access to this, not just one unifying account. You need to have access to separate accounts. Offers in both UK and EU stores. So France, Italy, Spain, Germany. You need to have offers and listings in both. Inventory stored in local fulfillment centers, which is what you would sign up for, and you would need to have be sending to local fulfillment centers that Amazon tells you to, and then automatic update of shipping program and export settings. So those are all the requirements that Amazon makes you have in order to be a part of this program. And important details for this: same SKU for all UK and EU offers. I know a lot of sellers like to diversify so they can know where sales ecosystems they have different SKUs. But Amazon makes this a requirement to know that the same SKU number is for UK and EU offers or listings. Use of Build International Listings tool for bulk offer creation. So this gives you access to the Build International Listings tool within their ecosystem that simplifies the process. That it's from one source, where if the source is in Germany, for example, that source will be when you use the Build International Listings tool, it will actually pull all the information from the listing that was built in from Germany, and then it will recreate it in those other markets for you. The prioritization of fulfillment from a local inventory, so it's going to prioritize that one into that one location. The Pan EU European FBA uses UK inventory for EU orders if no EU inventory. So with those programs, there's that little discrepancy. And then pricing should reflect European fulfillment network fees and VAT. So again, how they sell it, having those costs built into it. This is all part of what is different about this program versus Pan EU. So eligible restrictions on certain products, of course, with both these programs. If you're a seller who has hazmat goods or large bulky items, there are certain categories that are not eligible for this. There is in Seller Central a restriction on certain products that you may or may not be able to sell with these programs. And then the European Fulfillment Network ASIN eligibility report available for enrolled sellers. What's the fees structure for this one? So the European Fulfillment Network fees details are provided within Seller Central, and then how they break it down with all the different complexities. I'm not sharing this on this presentation to bog down the overall nature of this program, but it's easy to access if you have questions. Again, I'm going to give my email at the very end that you have questions about. We're going to make sure that I can point you to where all those fees are located within Seller Central. And then, of course, the use of the Build International Listings for price management. That's going to show you how you can structure your fees, how you sell your products, how you can be effective in this program in Europe. Again, considerations: no VAT registration requirement for UK and EU fulfillment. Amazon handles VAT for sales below 150 euros or 135 pounds. And then obviously the target audience I'm suggesting for this program is going to be advantageous for new and small scale Amazon sellers. So again, the smaller the team, this program is going to be more advantageous for you to understand and grow your brand within Europe. And then obviously testing those waters and then graduating to either Pan EU, or how I will what I will talk about is regular FBA in those locations. So the pros and cons, again, let's talk about it. While EFN simplifies inventory management by sending to one location and VAT registration simplified, it does come with its drawbacks. You might face higher shipping costs for international orders. So because it's in one location instead of multiple, Amazon is going to reflectively have fulfillment costs much higher and shipping costs much higher than if it were spread out in those localized regions. There's higher shipping costs for international orders, and your products won't have prime eligibility for customers outside of the inventory's country. Key component. So if your inventory is located in Germany, prime eligibility is only located within Germany. It's not in prime eligible for the UK or for France or Italy because of the shipping method is coming from a different country, similar to NARF, but because of that network and how it's set up here, because your inventory is farther away, they don't classify it as prime eligible. It's also essential the way those factors based upon your business model, right? So if that is not a factor for you, then that's great. You can simply not worry about it. However, as we all know, prime eligible products are higher to be considered, or are more likely to be considered because of the timeliness of delivery. So the key advantages of the EFN, obviously single VAT identification number, only needed to register for that country that you're in or that your inventory is going to be in, where the goods are stored. And then the inventory management is a lot easier to handle on a smaller scale team. All inventory is managed in a single warehouse. You're shipping to from one location here in the United States, or your factory or manufacturer, to that location that you sign up for, or that is assigned to you. And then lower return cost, reduced cost for returns and disposal within the same country is reduced. Access to all European marketplaces. So again, you can sell to those different markets from the one source. It's not prime eligible, but you have access to all of those from a single storage location. And then seller account management. It's one account to sell across all those different markets. It's consolidated product and sales activities to one account. So again, not managing a bunch of different accounts. If you can't handle that bandwidth, you have one unified account. So the disadvantages of this program is it's a penalty per unit sold. So it's actually Amazon calls it a penalty. It's a fee. So it's a fee of 25 euros or 25 cents. I'm not quite sure the official. I was just in Italy this summer, and I should know if it's 25 cents. So 25, not 25 euros, but 25 cents per unit, not using the CEE or the PNE program. So again, it's a program fee for every unit sold. Higher international shipping costs, as we covered before. Longer delivery times, again, not prime eligible, so it will take longer for your inventory to arrive at the final destination, which could be a consideration for a consumer of your product versus your competitor. So to be considered. And then no prime benefits for international orders, only within that local country where your inventory is stored. So going back to those programs and going back to, I want to reestablish selling in Europe versus the United States. So if you're not sold on those programs and the ease of use, I broke down why both programs are beneficial depending on where you are in your entrepreneur journey. But comparing it to the United States, I want to make sure that people are aware of how to compare the apples versus oranges in this case. So Europe has similarities to US, obviously, such as the use of FBA and Prime. However, Europe's diverse regulations, tax systems, and cultural nuances, as we talked a little bit about earlier, add layers of complexity to be understood, not to be feared. So understanding those differences is critical as you approach each marketplace efficiently and effectively. So as you start to build out and sell over time, it's good to understand each of those individualized markets and how your brand can speak to them, right? So consistent selling process versus unique market differences. Each European country has specific tax requirements. Selling in Europe has similarities, again, just like the United States, but each country has their own tax requirements. Product compliance for every country. So if you have a product with, whether it be consumable or topical, or maybe has small pieces, or if it's in a specific category, you have to understand that each country that you sell in also has a product compliance aspect where the standards and regulations must be met in order to sell safely in that country. And then language requirements, listings and customer support must be provided for that local language. If you're an FBA, obviously that helps. If you're not and you're fulfilling by yourself, you don't have the support. You must have some sort of ecosystem that supports those local languages. But those are the things to be considered when growing your business in comparing it to the United States versus Europe. So section 3, market entry strategies, how we're going to get you there. Now that we've established the pros and cons, and these all sound great. Hopefully everyone's taking notes. Now we're going to talk about where do we start, right? This is the whole component. So when considering products to sell in Europe, it's important to know that if you're selling in Europe, it's often wise to start with your existing US selection. This is not a place to start testing your brand new product launches. Start testing products that you just haven't sold yet or are not established on Amazon. We actually suggest that ensure these products are compliant within European standards regulations. Start selling within your own compliant products that have gone through the US systems. So your best sellers, your top sellers, your high volume success products, those are the ones you want to start with in core components and then grow from there. So this adaptable strategy is very crucial and it's popular in the US, but it may have a different reception in the European market. So it's understanding that that's a good place to start, but as the adoption, excuse me, of your products and how well it does in those markets, you must be fluid and must be ready to change course if you need to. It might not be as accepted in France versus as it is in Germany. There's a lot of things to consider because of those localized entities in different countries. So things that you have to be fluid and like the speedboat and not like the freighter. You want to be going with the tides and with the waves, not against it, and you can't change course dramatically. So that is why it's important to consider these when using these programs or just expanding directly in one country versus all of them at once. So with our approach, my suggestion and ours is at Frisbi's is adapt U.S. offerings to ensure compliance. And the approach that we suggest is offer all eligible U.S. selections in Europe. Again, offering it all, and then ensuring compliance with those local regulations, and then having a scaled approach as you see success with certain products on a smaller scale. If it's not successful, obviously it's just smaller inventory that it's offered, but it may not be, you might not put a ton of units in those warehouses. Start and see what's successful. The tried and true, like test it before, or testing is the best data source. All these numbers can be great, but the real true test is going to be knowing what your sales velocity and volume is demanding in those markets, and then start to scale back products that don't take off and then fuel the ones that do. So this is use your inventory and use your whole catalog that's compliant, put it in and try in those markets, and then adapt and grow. And as you're testing, as you're starting out, the fulfillment strategy with this is start with a wide and thin approach. Again, smaller units, test and see how you can, how often you're selling and then how fast you're selling. And then with FBA, scaling up based upon the sales data. That's the only true metric that you're going to need to be measuring. But that is where we at Frisbi are suggesting that Amazon sellers be successful in Europe. Start with the wide and thin approach using FBA and scale upwards, right? It might go, so it's wide. We might go narrower with a few products that are very successful, but we want a wide and thin approach. Start with what's you have offering in your catalog, and then go up and really build that mountain from a great base. So not wasting your time, but being fluid with your inventory. So maybe less units, and then scaling and getting more and more at a time of your shipments or fulfillments, or however often you're fulfilling your inventory into those locations. That's how you build a strong foundation that let data tell you where your customer is demanding your products. So choosing your starting marketplace. People like to ask, hey, Europe's great. There's 28 different opportunities and countries. Where do we start, Ryan? That's a great question, seller. Deciding where to start selling in Europe depends on factors like your product category, of course, and distribution rights. So if you're a reseller, your distribution rights, you should know with your licensee or your who you have agreements with whether it be the manufacturer or the licensor of those products. Know exactly which countries you can sell in. Start from there. With your product category, however, there are different countries that take longer time to be compliant in. So know that from the get-go, we at Frisbi, we educate on the roadmap and how long it takes for every single product, and how long it will be to make sure that you're fully, thumbs up according to Amazon's TOS and the country's um, requirements. We will review that and work with you to look over and help you out, making sure that you understand, hey, these are the things they will look like, making sure that these are the risks that you can have with this product, get these checked out for these certifications done, and knowing that timeline when to expect it, because it's no fun for any seller who comes to our doors and asks us, hey, we want to start selling in Germany. How long does that take? And then they understand it's not an instantaneous process. It might take some planning, might take a few weeks, a few months, depends on the category. But you want to know those timelines ahead of time in order to plan for your successful growth and expansion in Europe. So what we suggest here at Frisbi is a pretty consistent the starting place if you're looking for Europe. Starting in Germany and the UK are significant e-commerce markets for Europe, obviously. So you may choose to begin in one of those two countries or both of those countries due to their demand, their adoption rate, and delivery efficiency in languages that are advantageous, similar to the United States. Obviously, English is spoken in the UK, very easy in terms of language translation. In Germany, a little bit different, a different tone, a different perspective, but it's a little bit easier to translate. A lot more Germans are speaking English, but you still want to have that language process. But Germany and UK are 1A and 1B in terms of strength and European numbers with sales, revenue, and eyeballs or visitors. So those are two markets that we suggest choosing one or both of those. Starting with starting with one or expanding across multiple, start with those markets, see what demand of your product is, and then growing into those different countries, selling in FBA. If your team is ready for it, those programs are very popular within the Amazon community, or just selling directly in those markets one off and staying established there. So understanding European markets just directly in the UK or just directly in Germany, or just those without being available everywhere like the Pan EU program. This is also an option that here at Frisbi we help sellers get started and sell in that ecosystem. It's easy because Amazon will point you have one marketplace to worry about. You don't have to worry about all the different components of those markets and programs that you might have to consider, the other additional VAT numbers and whatnot. But establishing a core foothold in those strong markets, it's a base and it's a choice for market, for product category, distribution rights, resources, etc., and build from there. All right, pricing strategies for European markets. What everyone likes to know. What's a strategy? Like, what I have to consider for me to be successful? Is setting the right price in the Europe involves considering, again, value-added tax or VAT, currency differences, because in Europe they have multiple different currencies. In UK it's the pound, and then Europe it's the euro. Additional costs like shipping and returns. It's important to adjust your pricing strategy to remain competitive while covering those additional expenses. So what I want to consider, and as you're taking notes, what to consider for the source store of the UK to target a store in the EU. There's a couple different things I mentioned about your pricing strategy and tools that Amazon has to offer on how to adopt your pricing strategy. We're not talking about dynamic pricing. We're talking about the cost considerations into making sure that you're profitable when entering these markets. So you have to factor in a lot of your costs ahead of time, like shipping, customer support, conversion costs, taxes, and duties. Amazon has great calculators to consider for that. There's also a Build International Listings tool where pricing rules can help you adjust automatically based upon your margins and based upon all of those fees. And to give a quick breakdown of that, an example would be if your source store is in the UK, to target store in the EU, a seller has a price of 10 GBP or Great Britain pound. And the currency exchange rate is, for every pound to euro, is 1 to 1.17 euros. The FBA fulfillment fee in the source store is 2.5 pounds, and the EFN fee, or the European Fulfillment Network fee, at the target store is $7.66. So the fulfillment fee from UK to an EU store, the fulfillment fee is that. The VAT rate of that source store, again, being in the UK, it would be 20%, and the VAT rate of the target store where it's being sold is 21. The Build International Listings tool will actually do all those calculations, and the final price based on this example in that target store will be 17 euros and 52 cents. So whatever that comes out, 17.52 euros, based upon the international listing calculator, based upon all those different components, right? So where your inventory is located, where its final store is, what the conversion fee is, what the currency conversion is, what all those additional fulfillment fees are. The Build International Listings tool is actually a really cool resource in order to take advantage of, so you're still profitable, and it makes it consistent across all the markets that you're fulfilling from. So the pricing rule actually is the same as the source marketplace, adjusted for fees and taxes. An estimate, if you estimate your fulfillment fees, there's a special pricing rule calculator, again, in the Build International Listings tool, that is for look at my notes real quick, predicting location of the next customer, and it will help you predict what those fees will incur based upon your track record and whatnot. So it's a great tool to help you understand how to list your product pricing with those different ecosystems. Because again, going back to the basics, in UK, when your product is sold, the value added tax is incorporated into a cost. Here in the United States, your tax is included on the end of everything. So when you build out your pricing strategy for how you're selling your product in each of these different countries, you must know how Amazon is calculating those costs, if it's built into it, or if it's post sale, or if it's included in the price of your sale. We've seen sellers who have gotten burned on that, and come to Frisbi and say, why is this the case? It's because their strategy, they didn't know their strategy up front for pricing ecosystem, because they didn't include the pricing within the sales price. The tax is included in the sales price. It's not added after. So those where a lot of sellers make that misguided step, if you will, is making sure that they know all the components of the pricing strategy, when Amazon charges it, when it doesn't. So those are some of the things I wanted to kind of bring to light for you, everyone here who's listening to this. Again, we're almost, we have only a few more slides, and then we'll get to the Q&A for the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes or so of the hour. Section 4, the last section that we're going to cover today, is operational and legal considerations when growing into Europe. So expanding into Europe requires a thorough understanding of, again, VAT requirements and adherence to local laws, and standards. Let me get a quick drink as everyone thinks about this. So what we're going to be talking about is, if you read through all the additional things to consider, specifically for Germany, I wanted to call out all this. Each country in Europe actually has a unique regulatory landscape, and it's crucial for your products and operation to be fully compliant, which we at Frisbi do very, very well. So hopefully, if you're considering this, you're working with us already, or if you're learning to grow into Europe, this is something that we teach all of our sellers individually, one-on-one. From product safety standards to labeling requirements, we at Frisbi will guide you through all these legal intricacies, but also we'll talk about it here on the webinar today. So additional fees, if a product is located in Germany, placement incurs an extra outbound fee unless it's enabled in Poland and Czech Republic. It's a weird, it's a weird rule. But for tax implications, that's what Amazon requires. The implications of VAT, enabling placement in additional countries, can trigger local VAT obligations. So as you understand that more products are placed in different countries, you have to have another country VAT requirement and have to pay their local or their government taxes and fees the more places your inventory is stored. The EORI number, so if you've heard this phrase used before, our customers are very much aware of it. But if you haven't heard before, it's necessary for importing and customs in the UK and EU. So you need to have an importing record or someone who imports on your behalf. Frisbi handles this, of course. And then separate Amazon accounts required. For the European account registrations necessary, you must have actually a distinct they must be distinct from a US account. So as an Amazon seller, if you're not aware already, you can't just keep having one account that you manage and adding countries to it. You can, obviously, there's a unified account within Europe, but in North America, you can fulfill in Canada and Mexico. But if you're taking that next step, you have to have a whole separate account, whether it be just for one country, where a lot of successful sellers and top sellers around the world have individual accounts for every separate country to keep them separate. So Amazon, for whatever for reasons I've seen in the past for sellers, they don't want one account to be shut down so that it hampers the rest of their countries. They want to have separate accounts for each country. So that is something that you must think about, understand based upon your growth metrics and goals for your country, or for your company, excuse me. So going back to understanding the complexities of everything, logistics and shipping is truly should be the backbone of your European expansion, and how you can get your products there quickly, effectively, and making sure that it's another step in your brand building process as a company internationally, that you must have a very secure network of fulfilling your products into fulfillment centers and getting it to those different countries, supporting along the way, making sure there's no hiccups. It can get there quickly, effectively, and of course, cost effectively as well. So, how to efficiently ship your products in the Amazon's European fulfillment centers and navigate the complexities of those import regulations, from selecting right logistics partners. Hopefully, Frisbi is on that list, and understanding customs procedures, mastering those aspects is very much a key to your expansion. So again, we're talking about direct shipping. It's possible direct shipping from manufacturer to the EU fulfillment centers. So if you're based in China, sending it to Europe, consider that option. Or if you're based in one location for your 3PL, having those fulfilled all from the same 3PL, it can be done. And FBA similarities and differences. Obviously, the functions similar to US with specific variations in fees and delivery times. So know that per country. Inventory management. We recommend to have inventory in or near that marketplace because of how quickly you can replenish, or having a system that can fulfill within a few days, knowing what levels of inventory you have or need. And then shipping company selection. Obviously, ensure that you can have a company that can help you manage customs and clear through, clear customs in the borders, and having the import costs as part of this ecosystem that you're working with, making sure that there's nothing hidden. They're all up front, and making sure that everything is as it should be to get in smoothly. And then, of course, Frisbi is a part of this ecosystem. Most notably, we can assist with international shipping and additional services to cover all these aspects. It's your solution should be pretty clear by now. Hopefully, if you're learning about us for the first time, that is something to consider when fulfilling and having your logistics ecosystem, no matter how big or small. Your brand, it's important to have your established source of help, and making sure that they can support you along the way, so you can focus on things that will grow your business. Not trying to clear customs or calling a carrier, or making sure that your product, if it's lost, where is it at? So having a solution that's built in, like Frisbi, to make sure that they are helping you with those maybe pain points, if you will. So managing customer service and returns is the last thing I want to cover on today. Amazon, when you work directly on the FBA ecosystem, they help you manage those customer service and returns in the local language. Frisbi also helps with returns in different markets. So when you're considering using FBA or fulfillment programs like that, or fulfilling orders yourselves, even that we're not covering today, but just consider that when you're in Europe, your brand is big enough. Those are some things that you must consider. Amazon takes care of that when you work directly with FBA. So it can help your brand's reputation to have that localized support. All right, we made it. And with 10 minutes left in the webinar, I promised everyone we would keep it within an hour. Now is the section for Q&A. I want to open the floor for questions. This is a great opportunity to obviously address me, address questions you might have about specifically your brand. And if I can answer, I'd be more than happy to. I'm going to offer my personal email that you can get in touch with us directly, so that we can follow up with you and making sure that you're clear, you're concise, you're excited, you have all your questions answered. all those things taken care of once we wrap up today. So feel free to ask in the chat. If you're watching this recording and you're not able to join us live, you can still put in those questions in the comment section. This will be on YouTube if you're watching us on YouTube right now, or this will be this for everyone who signs up. They will get the replay of this entire webinar, so you can go back to and speed me up or slow me down if you need to replay certain parts of this webinar. Certainly able to do that. So pulling up our questions. Everyone's excited today to ask these questions. Hello, everyone. I'm going to go and click through as they came in, looking to ship and sell in Germany. Victor, I'm going to pull these up and show everyone. Victor, that's a great question. If you're looking to ship and sell in Germany, that's a great question. We can follow up with you and help you, guide you through the process. I mean, I'm curious what you're selling if you tell people, but that's exciting that you're looking to sell into Germany. That's a good opportunity for you. Can't hear you. Minori, I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I'm hoping that wasn't the case this whole time as I was talking. However, this will be recorded and should be fixed in, let me just double check and make sure that my audio should be good to go. All right, perfect. I see my microphone still going, so hopefully that wasn't a problem for everyone. Thumbs up if you could still hear me, but if that's not the case, lower FB, I'm going to keep going through our Q&A session and make sure that we answer all these questions. And then, of course, we will break this down on our YouTube channel so that each component that we talked about today can be spliced and diced. It will be broken down for you and your team if you want to refer to this later on. Again, this whole recording will be emailed to you afterwards. And then I have some resources to share with everyone at the end of today that you'll definitely not want to miss, especially since there's a lot of VAT explanation and talked about understanding tax implications. I have a guide that I'll have free to use. I'll give you my email at the very end to make sure that everyone is has that guide if they so choose. So lower FBA is 2.1 surcharge for items oversized. Samuel, thank you for that clarification. Yes, that is in Seller Central. So if everyone, again, I'm more than happy to share out that link. But all the fees that are constantly updated right now, it's peak surcharge season. As we are coming off of the Turkey 5, all the holiday season, the peak surcharges will end on, I want to say January 15th, I think is consistently across all of Amazon's marketplaces. That is when you'll go back to regular quote unquote pricing for fulfillment. And then obviously if you have oversized items, there's those oversized charges as well. So that is same outside of where you shipped it. I'm not sure I understand the question, Samuel. So if you have more context or clarity, if you want to email me afterwards, I can answer your question or we can hop on a call after this. I'm reading these all for the first time, so I appreciate everyone's patience. On one of the pros was effortlessly inventory management, yet con is inventory management challenges. Confused on that. Okay, so I want to know, Brady, on which one you were talking about, because inventory, I will explain this. Inventory management can be a pro, it can also be a con. Inventory management of where you're sending your products, it could be one source, right? So you only have to send to one location. However, inventory management as a phrase, you can say there might be multiple locations you have to consider and send to different countries. So the pricing might be different, the customs clearance might be different, the speed of which, however, you can get into those ecosystems might be a little bit different. For example, getting inventory into Germany, for example, we have a program that we called our Netherlands program. So it cuts down on the value added tax on or basically the fees to ship directly to Germany is not worth it for a lot of our sellers. Instead of what we suggest is sending it directly to FBA location in Netherlands, and then it's picked up. It's so close to the border from Netherlands to Germany. Amazon has a program where for a few cents or very, very few dollars, they can have all that inventory picked up from that warehouse, and they will truck it over to their fulfillment centers in Germany themselves. So there's a program that we've built out and established, and we'd be more than happy to talk about. I'm going to be building some blogs here a little bit about it, but that's a program that we've helped sellers cut down on costs and figure out how to import their products the inventory management aspect of it helped cut down on costs. It's a little more complex, but it's a way that we've helped sellers get their inventory into a country without the additional fees and getting stuck at the border. So that's what I mean by inventory management can be a pro and a con. Not to confuse you and not to misstep or misguide, but it certainly can be both. So that's where a lot of people have a lot of questions and confusions about. They can be both. So you probably saw correctly. The let's go down here. Thank you, Brady, for your question. Does Frisbi have a list of 200 marketplaces of the 200 marketplaces? That's a good question. Mark, I like that. I can certainly find that for you and I can publish it on our blog. That's a good blog idea. I don't have it. The 200 marketplaces, for example, it'd be like eBay, it'd be like Shein, it'd be all the ones that you hear, plus local country marketplaces that you can have in e-commerce. So the adoption is most high in Europe for Amazon. It's number one across the board. But there are some marketplaces, for example, outside of Europe and Japan, the number one marketplace is Amazon. However, right behind it, or for a long time, it was Rakuten. So in China, there's different marketplaces, and each country has its own really unique and big marketplace that people are buying from online. But there will be Amazon is actually spreading the most, and it's trying to get in all the major marketplaces now. It's available in 22 different countries that sellers can sell in. Most recent one that was announced was in South Africa. So those are all, that's one marketplace in different countries. So that list can be broken down into 22. And then there's obviously different ones like Walmart, there's Canadian Tire, there's CD discount. There, I have a list I will comprise. That's a great question. That's a good idea that I'll produce. So follow us on YouTube or follow our blogs and look out for that content coming soon. That's a great question. All right, Brady Ditto. All right, we answered the question from Brady, the inventory management. That's pro and a con. I'm gonna make sure I mark that to make sure I can refer to that. EFN is 40% higher fee. Samuel, yes. I think that was just a statement. So appreciate that statement. If we start with EFN, which country is best to register VAT? So EFN, as established before, where your inventory is located. So where the source country is located, that's where you're going to need to have your VAT number registered. So Amazon will help, will suggest to you one of those locations. It's either going to be in Germany or it's going to be in the UK. So based on that program, that's what they will tell you to do. So you can reach out to Frisbi and we can help you walk through that ecosystem, because the if you have that number for those countries, they might put you in that country already, but Amazon more than likely is going to put you into one of those major marketplaces like a Germany, like a UK. It's going to depend on your product. So that's a good question, and then we can help you guide through that process as well. Trong. Joe says, we sent a shipment to Germany and the customs over there was a nightmare. Not to be expected, or not to be unexpected, I should say. What's the best way to send inventory to EU without going through Germany? Good question. I know I referenced our Netherlands program. Joe, I'd be more than happy if you have not learned before. I'm talking to you the first time. We have a program that would be fantastic to introduce you to navigate through that. You do need I will say this, you will need a Netherlands VAT number, and you will also need a German VAT number. So if you have a German VAT number, you're already halfway done. You just need if you have a Netherlands VAT number, which we can help you get set up with our partners, that'll be the one thing that you would be required. And we walk you through a step-by-step guide of how to import directly with Germany. It's been very successful for lots of our clients. It is it's a way that to avoid those import nightmares that you're talking about. That's I'm sorry that you had a nightmare. I'm not laughing at you at that. It is something that you are one of many who have complained about such an ecosystem that it's not friendly for sellers to import from outside of Germany. So this is something that Frisbi is constantly working on. We're happy to walk you through. I'll give you my email at the very end and shoot us a note. All right, Mac. Mark, I said Mac. I went to Germany using Frisbi's Netherlands program. Sell through, no issues. Look at that. I'm just going through systematically. Mark, look at that shout out. This is going to be right there next to that program. page that I build out for our team. Thank you for the comment, Mark. So Joe, if you have those questions, it's the same program that Mark's talking about. I love the emojis on here. This is the first time I'm seeing emojis. So you guys are awesome audience. Appreciate everyone tuning in today. To kind of wrap up, I know we're already at an hour. I want to make sure I kind of make note of all these things that came through Q&A. You can register for VAT in France as customs is apparently easier, and duty is calculated at the cost price rather than retail price. Karen, yes. So we're not tax experts. I don't pretend to be a tax expert. I don't want to be a tax expert, but that's a confusing process. We actually have great partners who help walk you through that, and we will point you. We will help point you to that direction because we want the guidance to be from tax professionals. So with value-added tax, we actually point people to a couple different companies that are on Amazon's top list as well. Most notably, recently, we work with a lot with Tactually, and I've worked with the Basque, we work with Avalar. All those are great companies in Amazon's eyes. You wouldn't go wrong with any of those agencies, but we often push people to Tactually because of their tech-enabled system, and they work pretty seamlessly with our ecosystem as well. So that's who we would refer you to for those kinds of questions. I have a guide actually coming up. I will help you with that, with understanding VAT for people who are interested in it. And I'll give it away for free, I promise. Has anyone started with Italy? Has anyone started manual? If you're asking me specifically, Italy is a very unique marketplace. It's definitely growing. There's a really cool tool that we'll talk about in the resources here at the very end tool called product compliance, or excuse me, product opportunity explorer. That if you start with Italy, it's not a bad marketplace. We would help you navigate there. But if your product makes a lot of sense for the Italian market and the demand is there with this tool, I would say definitely test it out for sure. But there, it is a growing marketplace and is one of Amazon's, one of the not part of the core four. They call it the core four over in Europe. It's Germany, Spain. It's part of the core four: Germany, Italy, Spain, and France. So it's part of the top four markets that they hold in high regard. They keep it separate from UK. So Germany, Italy, Spain, and France are those four markets that they push a lot of sellers into, and they are successful in. Thanks for sharing with the label requirements Spain EU. Do you need to have labels in all 7 languages? Joe, that's a good question. I don't know the product labeling. I know our team knows that for Pan EU, and it's also specifically labeled. So for the labeling requirements, we suggest obviously the more markets you enter, start planning on that process as well to make sure. So for backing up, there's requirements for every different country. You will have to have like EPR requirements, which is environmental protection regulation. For France and Germany specifically, you must have specific requirements for the packaging and the labeling. So for those countries, you definitely need to have specific language and requirements. Again, it also depends on the category of the product you're selling. So Amazon lists that out. They Pan EU program. They help you navigate that. But more often than not, they will start to suggest on your instructions or your labels to have them in the top language markets. So English, Spanish, French, Italian, and I think in German. So those would be the ones you would want to definitely have on your product labels, or at least having like an accordion book that has all the different instructions, languages, things of that sort. There's also things like our peel and stick labels they can put on from your manufacturer or from prep centers. Those are all things that are available for sellers to consider if that's a requirement for your specific category and or product. So I don't have a good answer for you because I don't know your product, but to be considered. Does Frisbi handle returns from UK back to US? Yes, we do. We help that ecosystem. More than happy to talk, Joe. If you email us at the end, please confirm that we can send products to UK FBA that sell for less than not pay VAT. If so, Amazon has the requirements specifically. I'll refer to that. And again, I have a VAT guide I will be sharing with everyone who wants to email me and follow up with that. So VAT payable upon entry into the UK. Ricardo, that's a great question. Because I'm not a tax professional, I don't want to give you the precise, but that was the language that Amazon used in their most recent publishing of requirements. So I'm pulling directly from Seller Central on those statements on the slides, and in composing it for you. So I don't want to give you a specific answer, but I will help you with a guide, and I will give you a resource here at the very end to give you that answer. Are tips getting set up? Yeah, Josh, talk with Frisbi. We'll help you with the NERI number. Again, we have partners in the tax ecosystem. Penny, thanks. You can register 2 VAT numbers if you want to store inventory in more than one. Helps give you prime badge and country too. Good tip, Karen. Yes, if you have inventory, if you have a VAT number, again, it's a cost added to your business. However, it is something that the more VAT numbers you have, it diversifies your portfolio and capabilities of being able to store inventory in that source country. So selling directly in those countries, something that we help sellers all the time. That's what we eventually tell sellers: as the bigger you get, directly manage that one marketplace by itself, and not through Penny or not through EFN network. Again, these are advanced tactics that we get up to, but as a seller, the capabilities that you have, ideally we would tell you to manage each marketplace individually if you're capable of doing that, because of the fees, the cost structure, setting up, things like that. They're all different, and it will help you down the road too to be more successful as your team and brand builds up. So getting VAT number in Italy was easier than France and Germany. It took a week or two. Yes, every country is going to be different upon getting VAT numbers. Depending on the country, depending on the category, the product you're in, all will determine the timeline in which you have to get your VAT number. And again, it's also the time of year too. So when the authorities, when you file for VAT numbers, we help you with our partners, get those sent out. We'll tell you kind of a timeline of what to expect. Sometimes they're quicker, sometimes they're not, depending on how many VAT numbers and registrations there are for it in the countries. Thanks for the session. Very informative, Joe. Thank you for this session, because it's people like you guys who are inspiring me. Hopefully everyone was successful on this past week and weekend and leading into the remaining part of the year. I'm excited to see your success. I want to go ahead and walk you through one final, let's get through one final, whoops, there we go. A couple slides kind of to summarize everything we talked about today. We explored the different fulfillment options in Europe, the pros and cons, the strategies for entering the European market. Remember, the keys to success is always understanding your market. I cannot tell you how much prep I want you to do. Ask all the questions in order to understand, so it doesn't put up unnecessary barriers for your brand. This is something that you're going to be successful with when you work with the right partners, the right fulfillment options, and staying compliant with local regulations. Further resources for support. I like to have a little fun with this. So as I've teased before, I have a Frisbi VAT guide that was put together with the help of our friends over at Textually. It's free. I want you guys to understand it. I will help you understand this free PDF. It's lengthy. I didn't count the details, but it is quite long, and it answers a lot of Q&As that were mentioned here in the presentation today. You want it? You got it. It's free. Email ryan@frisbi.com. That's me directly. You don't get any sort of intern or anyone else. You get me directly for your free copy. You got it. If you want the other resource and tools, I will tell people about. It's the Amazon product guidance tool, product opportunity explorer, the product guidance tool. There's a couple different names it goes under. It's free. Check it out. If you don't know what it is, look at some of our most recent blogs at frisbi.com/blog. There's a really cool free tool within Amazon Seller Central that looks at your categories, or that your catalogs. It looks at your opportunities in those markets and will tell you where people are searching for products that are like yours. It will help guide you to which marketplaces are best fit your ecosystem. I'm burying the lead here. So use this tool to help product research and see, like for one of our attendees said, is Italy a good market? Use this tool, see if the keywords are there, see if the sales are there for potentially like products of yours, and see what kind of volume you can expect. This is free from Amazon. It's a great tool. It's being updated. It also helps with, I believe, Japan and other marketplace. I know it helps us with Canada, but I know it helps with all the markets in Europe. Check it out. It's free. Use it. Start loving it. I cannot rave about this tool anymore. The more data Amazon gives you, utilize it to build your brand and grow. So this is a resource I point to, our team points to help weaponize you to know which markets to grow into. And then obviously, we talked about currency conversions. We talked about customer support. Again, Amazon services, they assist in currency conversion. We have partners. If you're talking about currency conversion, which is part of this component in growing, we have great partners over at Payoneer, Airwallex. Those are great externalized resources that to venture and see if it's worthwhile for you, because as you expand into different countries, you need to be able to convert those currencies effectively. You don't want to leave money on the table. Amazon's a great ecosystem, but if it benefits you when you start growing in these different markets, check out those different solutions as well. Let us know if you have questions. Again, email me to let me know that you listened to what you thought about the webinar. I would love your feedback. I can even give you my phone number and we can talk about how else you would like to learn and grow your business on Amazon. But that's me today. I know we went over about 12 minutes. Thank you for joining us today. No matter where in the world you were, I hope this session has been informative, has equipped you with the knowledge and confidence to expand your business globally. Get some rest from the Turkey 5, everyone. Hopefully you all had success, but otherwise, we'll catch you guys on another webinar here in the future. Take care, everyone.